Introduction: the two characters inside your head. Welcome, fellow traveler of the mind. Today, we are embarking on a journey inward, not across continents or oceans, but through the intricate, hidden landscapes of your own consciousness. Think about the last major decision you made. Perhaps you bought a new car, invested your hard-earned money in a mutual fund, or chose a career path. Now, let me ask you a question that might feel a little unsettling. Why do you make that choice? Was it the result of a calm, perfectly logical calculation? Or did it just feel right? For centuries, economists and philosophers operated under a comforting assumption that humans are rational beings. We weigh the options, calculate the odds, and choose the path of maximum benefit. But in his groundbreaking masterpiece, Thinking, Fast and Slow, Nobel Laureate Daniel Kahneman shattered that mirror. He revealed that our minds are not unified engines of pure logic. Instead, your brain is a theater where two completely different characters are constantly fighting for control. Kahneman calls these characters System 1 and System 2. They dictate everything you see, everything you believe, and every single choice you make. Let us dim the lights, tune out the noise of the outside world, and meet the two invisible forces that run your life. Act I: the drama of the two systems. Music transition: a subtle change in rhythm, slightly faster, more kinetic. To understand how you think, you must first understand the intense partnership and frequent friction between these two systems. They don't actually exist as physical compartments in your brain. Rather, they're useful metaphors for two distinct modes of processing information. Meet System 1, the fast thinker. Imagine you are walking down a quiet street at night, and suddenly, a massive dog leaps out from behind a fence, barking furiously. You don't stop to think. You don't calculate the distance or estimate the breed. Your heart rate skyrockets, your muscles tense, and you instantly step back. That is System 1. System 1 operates automatically, instantly, and entirely out of your conscious control. It requires absolutely no mental effort. It is the system that allows you to read a billboard without trying, complete the phrase bread and look at a person's face and know they are angry, or answer the question 2 plus 2 is equal to. It runs on instinct, survival mechanisms, and deeply ingrained habits. It is brilliant, incredibly fast, and keeps you alive every day. But it has a fatal flaw. It is impatient, prone to illusions, and highly emotional. Meet System 2, the slow thinker. Now, imagine a different scenario. Someone hands you a pen and a piece of paper and asks you to multiply 17 backslash times 24. What happens inside your body? Your focus narrows. Your pupils dilate. Your heart rate slightly increases. Your mind actively pushes away distractions. You cannot do this calculation in a split second. You have to step through it mentally. This is System 2. System 2 is slow, deliberate, and logical. It handles complex computations, conscious choices, and self-control. When you search your memory for a specific song, focus on a single voice in a crowded room, fill out a tax form, or deliberately check the validity of a complex logical argument, you are relying on System 2. The great laziness conflict. Here lies the core tension of human nature. System 2 is incredibly lazy. Your brain consumes a massive amount of glucose and energy. To conserve energy, System 2 prefers to stay asleep, functioning in a low-effort background mode. It leaves the daily driving to System 1. Most of the time, this works beautifully. System 1 handles the routine, and if it encounters a massive surprise, like an unexpected loud noise, it wakes up System 2 to handle the crisis. But because System 2 hates to work, it often accepts the quick, sloppy stories that System 1 tells it. When faced with a difficult question, System 1 quickly swaps it out for an easier one, presents the answer to System 2, and System 2 simply nods along without checking the math. This hidden handoff is the root of almost every intellectual blind spot, bad investment, and flawed judgment we make. Act 2. Cognitive ease versus cognitive strain. Music transition. Soft, floating chords that create a sense of calm and safety. To master your decision making, you must learn to listen to the internal weather of your brain. Kahneman describes this weather using a scale that runs between cognitive ease and cognitive strain. The danger of cognitive ease. When everything is going smoothly, your mind is in a state of cognitive ease. You are happy, creative, and comfortable. System 1 is in charge, and System 2 is sound asleep. But cognitive ease is a dangerous trap. When you are at ease, you become profoundly gullible. Consider this terrifying truth about human psychology. If you want people to believe a lie, just repeat it frequently. Why does this work? Because familiarity breeds cognitive ease. When the brain hears a statement for the second or third time, it processes it more smoothly. System 1 mistakes that smoothness for truth. This is how propaganda works, how bad rumors spread, and why catchy, repetitive advertisements successfully separate us from our money. If a message is easy to read, printed in bold fonts, or delivered in a rhythmic cadence, your lazy brain relaxes its guard and accepts it blindly. The power of cognitive strain. On the flip side is cognitive strain. This happens when you encounter a messy font, a difficult mathematical puzzle, or an unexpected contradiction. Suddenly, the brain realizes it cannot coast on autopilot. Cognitive strain forces system to wake up. Your defenses go up. You become skeptical, analytical, and far less likely to fall for illusions. The audiobook takeaway. If you are studying a critical financial contract, reviewing an investment portfolio, or making a vital life choice, deliberately introduce cognitive strain. Print it out in a format that forces you to read slowly. Turn off the background music. Force your lazy system to do its job. Act 3. The shortcuts that blind us, heuristics and biases. Music transition. A slightly mysterious, investigative tone. Because System 1 is an evolutionary storytelling machine, it relies on mental shortcuts called heuristics. These are rules of thumb that help us make fast decisions. However, these shortcuts consistently create systematic errors, which Kahneman calls biases. Let's examine the most powerful traps your brain sets for you every day. 1. The anchoring effect. Imagine you walk into a real estate office, and the broker shows you a beautiful house. Before you even discuss value, she mentions that the house was originally listed at $1.2 million. Whether you realize it or not, that number, $1.2 million, has just slammed into your brain like a massive steel anchor. Even if the house is grossly overpriced and only worth $800,000, any offer you make and any counteroffer you consider will be unconsciously dragged toward that first number. The anchoring effect dictates that the first number introduced into a negotiation or a conversation exerts an overwhelming magnetic pull over all subsequent logic. If a charity ask sheet provides options like $20, $50, $100, or $500, people give significantly more than if the option started at $5. Your System 1 latches onto the initial figure as a baseline of reality, and System 2 fails to adjust away from it sufficiently. 2. The availability heuristic. How safe do you feel flying in an airplane? If you watched a dramatic news broadcast about a horrific plane crash yesterday, your System 1 will instantly scream, "Flying is terrifyingly dangerous." This is the availability heuristic at work. We estimate the probability of an event based on how easily examples of it can be retrieved from our memory. Because a vivid, tragic plane crash is highly memorable and easily retrieved, we dramatically overestimate its frequency. Meanwhile, statistically, the drive to the airport is infinitely more dangerous than the flight itself. But car crashes are mundane. They don't dominate the global news cycle, so they aren't available in your memory. We worry about terrorism while ignoring heart disease. We fear dramatic stock market collapses while ignoring the slow, corrosive effect of inflation. We react to what is dramatic, not what is statistically real. 3. Viciati. What you see is all there is. This is perhaps Kahneman's favorite acronym. System 1 takes whatever sparse, fragmented bits of information it has right in front of its eyes. assumes there is no missing data, and knits together a beautifully coherent, definitive narrative. If you meet a charming, well-spoken politician on day one, your mind instantly concludes, he's a brilliant leader who cares about the country. You don't know anything about his actual policies, his track record, or his past integrity. But your brain takes the one data point, charm, and builds a complete character profile. This is the halo effect. Your mind refuses to sit uncomfortably with doubt or incomplete information. It prefers a clean, complete story over a messy, complex reality. Act 4. Risk, Money, and the Secrets of Prospect Theory. Music transition. Serious, measured, financial documentary style codes. For decades, standard economic models assumed that humans evaluated financial risks using pure math. If a gamble offered a 50% chance of winning $1,000 and a 50% chance of winning nothing, an economist would value that gamble at a precise mathematical expected value of $500. But Kahneman and his lifelong research partner, Amos Tversky, looked at real human behavior and discovered something entirely different. They formulated prospect theory, which won Kahneman the Nobel Prize in economics. The law of loss aversion. The most vital discovery of prospect theory is that human beings hate losing much more than they love winning. Statistically, the pain of a financial loss is psychologically twice as powerful as the pleasure of an equivalent gain. If I offer you a coin flip where you lose $100 if it lands on heads and win $150 if it lands on tails, you will likely reject the bet. Mathematically, it is a fantastic bet. But psychologically, the thought of losing $100 stings so intensely that it completely overpowers the joy of winning $150. This loss aversion completely distorts how we manage our wealth. In the stock market, investors suffer from the disposition effect. When a stock they own drops in value, they refuse to sell it because selling means locking in a definitive, real loss. Their loss aversion kicks in, and they hold onto the failing asset for years, praying it returns to the break-even point. Meanwhile, if a stock goes up slightly, they rush to sell it immediately to secure the guaranteed win, capping their long-term upside. We are risk averse when it comes to securing gains, but we become wildly, dangerously risk-seeking when we are trying to avoid a guaranteed loss. Act we, overconfidence, and the illusion of understanding. Music transition. Somber, thoughtful, introspective music. We live in a world obsessed with experts, pundits, and forecasts. We love stories about visionary CEOs who predicted the future and made billions. But Kahneman warns us that much of our belief in history and planning is a complete illusion. The narrative fallacy and hindsight bias. When something monumental happens, a global pandemic, a financial crash, or the meteoric rise of a tech giant, our minds instantly look backward and construct a clean, logical chain of cause and effect. We say, of course that happened. It was completely obvious. This is the hindsight bias. In reality, before the event occurred, the world was an unpredictable, chaotic ocean of variables. But once the future becomes the past, System 1 erases your previous state of ignorance and convinces you that you knew it all along. This creates a dangerous side effect, overconfidence. We look at past success stories and think we can easily replicate them. We underestimate the immense role that pure, unadulterated luck plays in human affairs. A CEO might make a reckless, high-risk decision that happens to succeed due to random market shifts. The media will crown him a genius. Had the coin landed on the other side, he would have been labeled a fool. Kahneman notes that the world is far more random than our storytelling minds are willing to admit. The planning fallacy. Have you ever started a home renovation project, a new business venture, or a simple writing task, and assumed it would take 3 months and cost $5,000, only for it to take a year and cost $15,000? This is the planning fallacy. When planning, our System 1 adopts an inside view. It focuses entirely on our specific project, our best-case scenario, and the steps we control. It completely ignores the outside view, the statistical reality of how long similar projects actually take for other people. We build our plans on unrealistic optimism, leaving no room for the inevitable friction of reality. Act 6. The Two Selves. Who Lives Your Life? Music transition. Melancholic, deeply reflective philosophy theme. As we reach the final destination of Kahneman's philosophy, he poses a profound question. Who are you? He reveals that inside your identity, there are two distinct versions of you that perceive happiness and life satisfaction in completely different ways. 1. The experiencing self. The experiencing self lives exclusively in the present moment. It is the part of you that answers the question, how much does this hurt or feel good right now? It experiences the joy of a warm cup of tea, the agony of a painful medical procedure, or the comfort of a conversation. It lives through time sequentially, one fleeting second after another. 2. The remembering self. The remembering self is completely different. It doesn't live in the present. It is the storyteller that keeps score. It is the part of you that looks back later and asks, how was your trip to Italy? Or, how was your day? Here is the twist. The remembering self is a tyrant. It is the one that makes all your future choices, and it cares absolutely nothing about the actual duration of your experiences. The peak and rule. Kahneman proved this through a famous clinical experiment involving colonoscopies. One group of patients underwent a short, intensely painful procedure. A second group underwent a much longer procedure, where the peak pain was just as bad. But toward the very end, the doctors left the instrument stationary for a few minutes, reducing the discomfort to a mild ache before finishing. Mathematically, the second group suffered for a much longer duration. Yet, when asked later to rate their experience, the second group remembered the procedure as significantly less painful than the first group. Why? Because our remembering self evaluates an experience based on only 2 points: the peak, the most intense moment, and the end, how it finished. This is the peak end rule. If you go on a 2-week vacation, that is absolutely flawless. But on the final day, you get into a screaming match with a hotel receptionist and ruin your luggage. Your remembering self will stamp the entire vacation as a disaster. Your experiencing self had 13 days of pure bliss, but your remembering self completely deletes them. We don't make choices based on our actual experiences. We make choices based on the memories of our experiences. Conclusion. Awakening System 2. Music transition. Main theme rises, blending intellectual curiosity with a sense of resolution. Dear listener, we have traversed the dual pathways of human thought. We have watched System 1 sprint ahead with its emotional shortcuts, its vivid illusions, and its beautiful, flawed stories. We have watched System to sleep through critical financial choices, fall for anchors, and succumb to the illusions of hindsight. So, what is the ultimate lesson of Daniel Kahneman's life work? It is not to replace System 1. System 1 is an evolutionary masterpiece. Without its instant instincts, we could not navigate the world for a single hour. The lesson is to build intellectual humility. The next time you feel completely certain about an investment, an opinion, or a judgment about a person, remember Vaisiati. What you see is all there is. Recognize that your brain is trying to sell you a simplified story to keep you comfortable. Slow down. Breathe. Step out of the state of effortless cognitive ease. Introduce a little deliberate doubt. Ask yourself what data is missing and wake up your slow thinker. For it is only when we question our automatic minds that we truly begin to think. Thank you for listening.